Hey guys, hope you're all well. So today's video, I am going to be speaking about the undergraduate project. Now, I cannot tell you in the last 3 years or 4 years since I graduated how many students I have seen struggling with their undergraduate project. Mainly due to the amount of stress that the university puts upon them and because they may have not done anything like this before. And the sort of help they find is all cliched. And generally, when you see cliched resources for help, your mind doesn't give it the same value that it should, because it's probably the same thing everyone else is saying and it probably doesn't help you. So, I did want to make this video into a do's and don'ts for your university undergraduate project, but I felt that there's a lot of other videos on YouTube where people are doing that, and I thought, you know what? I would rather talk about my own experiences, and then you guys can take whatever you want from my own experiences. So, back in 2018, December / October / November, we were told that we're gonna have to do an undergraduate project. Now, in the beginning, I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. No information, nothing whatsoever. So what I did was I decided to talk to my friends in the years above of university, the ones that had left, and asked them, what did you guys do? Because the university was just telling us some complicated stuff. Build this in AI, build this in, I don't know, machine learning, build this in Google. Those things that don't seem very complicated to me right now, but back then they were very complicated because we had not been yet exposed to that stuff. So I thought, you know what? Let me do something that I know, and let me do something that will push me to basically get something that I'll be passionate about, something that I'll be good with, something that I will enjoy. So after researching researching doesn't mean Googling. I'm talking about mental research, where I'm just looking around and thinking, what should I do? That's what I mean by mental research. So I thought, okay, let me build a mobile application for my dad's office. My dad runs a travel agency, so I thought, let me make a mobile application for them. So my dad's business did not really need a mobile application, but I thought I'm going to use my dad's office my dad's business as a concept, because I know that it's a real life client. Let me see what impact I could do. Let me see what change I can make. Let me see how I can make things better with my skills. And let's see how well I can research to get there. So, the first thing I did was, I thought, okay, firstly, a report gets easier when you do the work yourself. That's one of the biggest advices I can give you students. A report gets 100 times easier if you build the project and do the work yourself. Because essentially, it literally feels like you're just writing a reflective report of your experiences, and you want to do that anyways after you've built something that you had never built before. You want someone to tell, you want to talk to, you want to express your feelings about it. So, the first thing I did was I researched if I want to build an app, how can I build an app? The way I can build an app is research. I researched which programming languages I can use to build the app. Then I realized React Native is one of the best ways to build a mobile app, because it does Android and iOS in one IDE. So it's JavaScript X, which is HTML, which is HTML and JavaScript. So it uses JavaScript X, and it allows you to do them both in one code base. So then after that, I thought, okay, in this project, I'm literally just going to use my supervisor as someone to sign my project off. But I want to enjoy this project because I am not going to get my final year at university back. And whatever I do here will be a story I can tell a future employer. And I need to prove all the stuff that they need from a new graduate: tenacity, drive, passion, all this stuff. So I thought, let me make it for something I'm passionate about, and let me prove myself to myself first, and then obviously you should tell that as a story to in your interview. So the first thing I did for this undergraduate project was I started coding. I don't know why I did this. It was a very bad idea, but I started coding. I started thinking, okay, let me code, let me find out how React Native works, let me do all this stuff. The reason it's a bad idea is because I had not yet planned anything. So guys, rule number one, plan. I had friends advising me all the time, you need to plan before you start coding. You need to plan. I never used to plan. I just thought, yeah, I'll get it done. I have that much confidence in my ability that I'll get it done. Very bad idea, because without planning, it took me double or triple the time to do it. Now, the first thing I did was I thought, okay, let me first create the first page. So I took it page by page. The first thing I did was create the first page. Okay, first I learned how to use React Native. So back in December, November time, I thought, you know what, let me take a month to learn how to use React Native. Once I know the ins and outs of React Native, which I still don't know 100% by the way, because obviously React Native is a lot deeper than anyone else can imagine because of the open source community and new things are built every single day. So I thought, let me take a month to figure out React Native and then let me continue. Took that month, figured it out, and then after that I started coding my own project. Now I thought, yeah, I'm smart enough to get the project done, and then after that I can start writing the report. So whereas people normally do it concurrently. So build the first page, build the second page, build the third page, build the fourth page, build the fifth page. Then I showed it to somebody externally, and they said, no, this is not what's expected of a university student. So me being me, I scrapped it and started it all again. But because I already knew how to get there, getting from zero to where I stopped off didn't really take me that long. So I did it all again because I already knew what I was doing. Changed the colors around, changed the fonts around, changed all the stuff around to make it actually look like a decent project. Obviously, I had to justify the color, why I'm using that specific color. In the beginning, I was using yellow, then changed to blue. So changed that all around. Then I did more and more to add to it. Obviously, I was sculpting it over time. I was adding things to it. I was subtracting things. I was putting in features based on risk and reward, which is what you don't do when you've already planned something. When you've already planned something, it makes life easier. So I did the opposite of what I should have done. I should have planned and I didn't. So I was doing that. I went through it and I scrapped my project around 4 times and I rebuilt it. And the 5th time I redid it because I just wasn't happy with it. And that's what happens when you don't plan something. When you plan something, you build your chances of success go higher. Whereas when you don't plan something, your chances of success go lower and your chances of wasting time go higher. So I rebuilt it around 5 times, and I think around March, April time or February, March time, it was near completion. But I know how I am. I was never going to complete it because I just wanted to keep adding things. I learned something new. I want to add in, and another thing I add in, all sorts of things I add in. But that Buddha in a China shop mentality taught me so much about myself. So I got through the entire project in the end. I completed it. I literally, because it was my first app ever, you can imagine how happy I must have been. I was getting people from around the uni to come and try test it, to come and try look at it, just mess around with it and everything. And every time they would test it, I'd find another problem in it. So that would just make me do more things. So I would retest it and refine it and retest it. I got to a point where I didn't want to use an API anymore, so I just used an iframe, and it worked. And then the whole app worked, but that whole app looked like a pile of trash. It worked, but it looked like a pile of trash. And then I redesigned it again. So the 6th time I redesigned it, this time I got someone else to help me redesign it, and we redesigned it fine. And then I put all the functionality into it, and then I was gone with it. But that's how I built the app. So after failing, I got it done in the end. But guys, the main thing I want to talk to you guys is about the research part. Now the research part is very important because why? It shows you have some sort of an analytic skill. So critical analysis, evaluation, all that stuff, which is what you need for projects like this. Now, I didn't have a hypothesis, I had a question. A hypothesis when you're out to prove something, that's for the most smart kids. I had more of a question. How technology is affecting the travel industry? Because I was building an app for the travel industry. And then I built another research, how React Native is good for mobile apps or something along the lines of that. So in my literature review, I obviously started off with introducing the subject, how the travel industry is being affected by technology. What is technology doing? I started saying things. The storm of technology has taken over, and it's going to take over every single field, as we've already seen. That was 2019, as we've seen. Then I would talk about the points that support my argument, how the data supports me, how I found data to support me. I would advise make the points first and then find data to support you. That's what I did. So how the data supported me, then how the data went against me, and then criticizing my own arguments, then criticizing their arguments, then finding problems in the arguments, and then at the end coming to a conclusion. So for example, how does it affect the travel industry, how technology affects the travel industry. Everything around you is going through phones now. People are booking online, they're no longer going to a travel agent. Whereas on the other hand, some old people and some people who pretend to buy from human beings like to go to a human being and tell him the problems about where they want to go, and then they'd rather talk to a human being about it, because a machine has limitations that human beings don't have. A human being may know you, and let's say someone knows you for the last 20 years and they're thinking, okay, why don't you try this place? Why don't you try that place? A machine could do that, but it's not the same between a machine and a human being. Online, you have to decide yourself. Whereas there's now competent technologies that actually show you how to basically give you suggestions. But when you talk to somebody and tell them, like, I don't want to go to this country, I don't want to go to that country, I want to go to this place, I want to go to that place, someone else can give you a better suggestion. So there was that piece of information that I added to my arguments, and it was an entire literature review of how bad my argument was. How firstly I started with how good my argument was. Then I went to how bad some of my points were. Then I pulled out arguments supporting the other side, and then I evaluated them as well. So the points, I evaluated them as well, and then at the end I concluded saying that the travel industry is being affected and it will be affected and stuff like that. But that's one of I included three. The second one was how React Native, and the third one I can't really remember what it was. Sorry, but the second one was how React Native is good for mobile apps. Then I would talk about what the benefits of React Native is, backed by Facebook, XYZ, open source contributors. So any feature you want, someone would have made something about it with React Native. Then I spoke about how React Native can be bad for those who want to specifically focus on a Swift on a iPhone application, or specifically focus on a Android application, because some applications, some features are not cross-compatible, which means they don't work on iPhone and Android. Sometimes you have to go into React Native and change it around and do an if statement that if the platform is Android, then make it like this, whereas if the platform is iOS, make it like this. So you have to do that sometimes, just for a few, but it sort of ruins the vibe for somebody who wants to do solely for both. I evaluated that, pulled out good points, pulled out bad points. I found my points on the internet, of journals and of newspaper articles and XYZ, because sort of like, if you find a point that is not 100% like correct, you could back it with the point that is correct and just needs a bit of help. Then I concluded with that with a sort of political statement saying that React Native is good, but it has these problems. So I believe that is good. So in the conclusion, you normally say I believe, or I have found, or we have found, or my argument proves. Never ever use I in your undergraduate project. So ignore what I just said. So you would say that in conclusion, React Native is good, or React Native is bad. That'd be your conclusion, because it shows you evaluate arguments. So after that, then you talk about your so my one was the SLDC, so my requirements, functional and non-functional, my design, why I chose to use that specific design. I included the part about market research, where I went on the I went on the iOS store and I found applications that are similar to mine, and then I talked about what's better, what they have that's better, and what I have that's better, and how I will basically use what they have and make it better. Just a bit of market research. So primary market research was what I found myself, and secondary was what's on the internet. So what I would do is I would tell people to like use my application and make a survey based upon it, and saying, was it good? What did you find easy about it? What did you find difficult about it? Because at the end of the day, when it comes to design, usability is a big thing. Usability, where people are able to use it easy and quicker to get what they want. That was my design stage. Requirements design. There was my implementation stage, which was solely the coding, taking screenshots of the main code and putting it there, because there was too much code. Then it was the testing, which I tested it through I did unit testing and system testing. So the testing goes up in stages. So I think unit testing is the most simple, where you test something in particular. Like for example, am I able to input something into this box? Am I able to press on this button? That's unit testing, something really small. System testing would be as a whole thing, and integration testing would be how it works well with the database and the APIs. So 3 types of testing: black box and white box, and there's 3 types of testing. Then after the testing, you would do your deployment, which obviously you can write whatever you want about. And then after that, obviously you talk about your conclusion. So what have you learned from this application? At the end of the day, they want you to prove something. So what did you learn from this application? What did you understand? How did you get to where you got to? They want to see an entire journey, basically. So you have to give them an entire journey. My piece of advice, guys, so strong advice: do not get someone else to do your undergraduate project for you. because it ruins experience. It ruins experience of university, and people will see right through you when you go to a job. Do not hire someone else to do it for you. There's nothing wrong with being inspired by somebody else, but there's a big problem with copying somebody else and making someone do your work for you. Because then what happens is you don't activate those parts of the brain that you needed to have activated in that undergraduate project. And let's say you got a group of 10 people, and one person knows how to research, one person knows how to go through an entire journey for application. These are life-changing experiences. Well, my experience changed my life. I didn't know how to do that before. I learned and I figured out how to do that. So guys, research is not Googling and finding information and everything and just putting on a piece of paper. That's not what research is. That's called gaining evidence or gaining data. Research is when you fix understanding about something. So I can do research about, I don't know, this is how mobile applications and technologies affect the travel industry. I don't know it. Until I can explain it with the evidence that I've got, I don't know it. Which means I have to break it down in my head and take it to a place where it's simple enough for me to understand, and then it's simple enough for me to explain to somebody else. It's not just about chucking stuff on a piece of paper and throwing it to somebody. No. Or chucking it on a piece of paper and presenting it. No. You have to know it. That's what an educated person is. Someone that's able to research and decide based upon his own free will and own mindset by going through arguments and figuring things out. That's what it's all about. So guys, when your lecturers and universities put you through undergraduate projects, enjoy it, experience it, and if you need help, give me a shout, no problem. I'm willing to go through this with someone one-to-one. But guys, enjoy it. Enjoy the experience. I know I really enjoyed it. I think I got 75% in the end with mine, and that was through a lot of hard work. I mean, I wish I could have got better, but it is what it is. I can't control the result. I can only control what I do, and what I did was learn a lot. Guys, it got to the point where in university I didn't care about what grade I got because I learned so much. But guys, my advice to you guys is do it yourself, and if you need help, give me a shout. Thank you guys for watching this video. Like, share and subscribe, and comment helpful if you found this helpful. And I will see you guys next week. Thank you very much.